Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. Now, this video is a little bit different than usual. We were out of town a few days, so we did eat out a few times, but I'll go ahead and share with you what we had both at home and away, and hopefully this gives you some dinner ideas. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, then just keep watching. For dinner this first night, we just had leftovers from Thanksgiving, and I shared what we made in last week's video, so you can check that out if you want to see everything, but just warmed up the leftovers. And then my sister had made a pumpkin cheesecake. She does hers a little differently. Instead of like a graham cracker crush, she does a ginger snap crust, and it is delicious. So good. The next night, I used the rest of the leftover turkey to make turkey tetrazzini. Now, I might be a little weird, but in school, I used to love when our cafeteria would make turkey or chicken tetrazzini. And for years, I have been trying to find a recipe that, matched that taste. I don't know how else to explain it, but just the taste of the school cafeteria tetrazzini. And this is the closest recipe I've found so far. It doesn't taste exactly like I remember, but it's the closest, and it's from the Cozy Cook. I've shared this before, I think, on my channel, but it's been a while. I will, of course, have the recipe linked in the description box below for you, and I did have the recipe. I've got the oven preheating to 350 degrees, and I did go a little off the recipe just in like the order that I cooked things, but you can follow the recipe, exactly if you prefer. In this skillet, it's on about medium heat. I'm going to add in some butter. Once the butter has melted, I'm adding in some chopped onions and some sliced mushrooms. I'm going to add some minced garlic, salt and pepper, give that a stir, and then cook that. Stir it maybe, once or twice, and then you just want to cook it for maybe 3 to 5 minutes until the vegetables are tender. Next, I'm going to add some flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. I'm going to sprinkle that over the veggies and give that a stir, and then cook the flour for a couple minutes just to cook that flour taste out. Next, I'm going to add in the liquid. Now, the recipe suggests for you to use white wine and chicken broth. I didn't have any white wine on hand, so I'm just using some chicken broth, or in my case, water with some of the bouillon powder. So I'm going to give that a little whisk and then bring that to a simmer until it starts to get thickened. It just takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes or so. And then we're going to add in our soup. Now, this particular recipe, the full recipe, calls for 1 can of cream of chicken and then 1 can of cream of mushroom. Now, because I have the recipe, I only need to use 1 can, but I like using this 1 can that has both cream of chicken and cream of mushroom in the same can. Hope that makes sense. But I'm going to add that in, give it a little whisk, and then I'm ready to add in the sour cream. And I apologize, I forgot to mention, after I added the chicken broth in, I added some milk in. I showed me adding it, but I wanted to verbally say it because I know some people like to, listen to videos and not always watch them. So I am adding in some grated Parmesan cheese. I felt like it was a little thick, so I'm adding just another little splash of chicken broth in. And then we are ready to add in the peas. Now, I love peas, so I add in a little extra. If you or someone in your family doesn't prefer peas or mushrooms, you could leave the mushrooms out. And instead of peas, I think like chopped asparagus would be good. You could add broccoli, spinach, whatever you like. Next, we're going to add in our pasta. Now, usually recipes call for spaghetti. I didn't have any, but I had some linguine on hand, so I just cooked that in some salted water according to the package instructions and drained it really well. Once I've got my noodles tossed into the sauce, it's ready to add in my turkey. Like I said, this is leftover from Thanksgiving. I just gave it a rough chop. You could also do like shredded chicken. This is a great way to use up rotisserie chicken. So once I have got the turkey stirred in, give it a taste, adjust the seasonings to your taste. I'm going to pour this mixture into a greased 9x9 baking dish again because I'm having this recipe. And then I'm going to sprinkle some shredded mozzarella cheese on top. This is what it looked like before it went into the oven. I baked it for about 30 minutes until it is bubbly and golden brown on top. This is what it looked like when it came out. I would let this sit for about 10 minutes before you serve it up. And I'll show you our plates here in just a second. To go along with this, I just wanted some cheesy garlic bread, so I got this Texas toast at Kroger. I'm going to bake it according to the package instructions, and then for the side, I'm just going to cook up this bag of frozen broccoli, again, according to the package instructions. So here is that finished garlic bread. Here is the broccoli. Once I cooked it in the bag and drained off the water, I just added in a tiny little pat of butter and some salt and pepper. Here are the plates. We have some of the tetrazzini, the broccoli, and the garlic bread. This is so good. And even having the recipe, it still makes quite a bit. We had leftovers for lunch for the next couple days. Now, for the next night, we were going to have a Christmas story themed dinner with my family, but the day of, Gary and I just were not feeling well, and, we weren't sure if we had a cold or something, so we rescheduled the dinner, but I needed to go ahead and make everything because I had all the ingredients, so I just did a smaller version just for he and I. I will be showing how I made this dinner in an upcoming video. I think it comes out later this week, so keep an eye out for that, but we had meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and then we did some sauteed red cabbage with Brussels sprouts and bacon, and it was a yummy, yummy dinner. I had planned on making these turkey sliders one day for lunch, but I didn't get around to it, so I thought I would make it for us for dinner. I will link the recipe down in the description box below. I kind of loosely followed it. Here's what I'm going to use to make these. I've got some Hawaiian rolls. I know not everybody loves Hawaiian rolls, so you can just use whatever slider buns you like. I've got some sliced Havarti cheese, some turkey deli meat. This would also be, of course, a great way to use up a leftover turkey if you've got some in the freezer for Thanksgiving or from any of the other upcoming holidays. And then for the cranberry sauce, I think the recipe said to use whole cranberry sauce. I didn't have any, so I just took the jellied and emptied it into a bowl and kind of mashed it up with a fork. So to assemble these, super easy. We're just going to slice the Hawaiian rolls in half. I'm going to place them into a greased baking dish, preheating my oven to 350 degrees. I added some sliced Havarti, and you can use as much or as little, of the cheese, the turkey, and the cranberry sauce as you prefer. After the cheese, I laid down some of the turkey, then the cranberry sauce. We're going to finish it up by adding some of the sliced Havarti and then the tops of the Hawaiian rolls. Now, for the butter, to be brushed over the Hawaiian rolls, these are the ingredients I'm going to use. I've got some butter. This is unsalted. I just prefer to use unsalted. Some Dijon mustard, Worcestershire sauce, onion powder, poppy seeds, and brown sugar. And remember, the recipe will be linked down below, so you can check that out for the measurements of these items. I just eyeball it. Added everything to a saucepan and then cooked it on medium-low heat until that butter was melted. I brushed that over the tops of the Hawaiian rolls. You're going to cover this with aluminum foil and tightly cover it. You want to bake these for 20 minutes uncovered, then remove the foil and bake it for another 5 to 7 minutes until the tops are golden brown. And you want to make sure that that cheese is really good and melted. All right, so to go along with this, just kept the side pretty simple. I got one of these sweet kale salad mixes. I love this one. It is so yummy with the kale and the cranberries and the pumpkin seeds. So good. So I just tossed that with some of the poppy seed dressing. And I did add a little extra of the Ken's poppy seed dressing. I just feel like in the salad kit, it needs a little more dressing for the kale. That's just personal preference. So here are the plates. We've got some of the sliders and the kale salad. Yummy little easy dinner. For dinner the next night, I made a Hawaiian barbecue chicken pizza. I made my dough this night. I've shared how I make this before on my channel. I'll link that video down below. It's really, really easy. If, doughs intimidate you, I promise you this is so easy, and it takes less than 10 minutes to put together, and then you just let it set for an hour and rise, and you're good to go. But of course, you can use whatever kind of pizza dough you prefer. You can use, the kind you get at the deli. You can use the refrigerated and the pop jar, whatever you prefer. So I am going to place my dough onto a pizza pan that I lightly grease. I'm going to press that out and then just kind of form a crust with my fingers. Now I'm doing a Hawaiian barbecue chicken pizza, but you can do so many different kinds of pizzas. I'm laying down just some of the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce because that's what I've got on hand. I'm going to spread that out with a spoon, and I forgot to mention, but my oven is preheating to 450 degrees. That's just per my pizza dough recipe instructions. I'd follow the instructions on, whatever type of pizza dough you're using. Now I'm going to add some shredded mozzarella cheese. I've got some in this bag that I need to use up, so I'm going to do that. And then I didn't have any more of the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue, so I had this Kinder's barbecue sauce in my pantry. So I am going to add that to some chicken. This is just rotisserie chicken I had left over. I just combined the barbecue sauce and the chicken. I'm going to spread that out over the pizza. Now, this next ingredient is controversial, I know, but I love pineapple on pizza. I just love the sweet and savory combination between the pineapple and like ham or pepperoni or bacon. So I'm adding that. If you don't want to add it, don't add it. Next up, I'm going to add some cooked bacon. I'm just using some of the bacon pieces to keep that easy. Now, I decided this night as I was adding the bacon to add some of the Kinder's barbecue seasoning on the pizza just to see what that did. I liked it. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it didn't hurt. Gave it a little extra flavor. So once I've got that on there, I'm ready to add the rest of the cheese. I had just a little bit of shredded mozzarella cheese left, so I'm going to use that up, and then I added some shredded cheddar cheese. I'm going to add one final drizzle of the Kinder's barbecue sauce, and then this is going to go into the preheated oven. And again, baking this according to my pizza dough recipe, which was for about 15 to 20 minutes until the crust is golden brown and the cheese is melted. And barbecue and ranch go really nicely together. And while I was in my fridge getting the stuff for the salads, I saw this Hidden Valley Ranch secret sauce. This is a smokehouse. And so I thought between the ranch, smoky, barbecue, that would go really well. So I added a drizzle of that on top of our pizzas. So to go along with the pizzas, I just did some side salads. Really, I was just trying to use up the fresh vegetables we had on hand before we headed out of town. And that was our dinner this night. So the last couple dinners in this week's video were dinners out. If you're new to my channel, I've mentioned before that I was born in Kentucky. We moved to the Nashville, Tennessee area, I think when I was like 3. I've pretty much lived here my whole life. I mean, we did move back to Kentucky a couple times when I was young, but just for a few months each time. But I've pretty much lived in Nashville my whole life, for the Nashville area. My extended family, so my grandparents before they passed, aunts, uncles, cousins, almost all of them still live in that same area. So we had a family Christmas celebration. It was my dad's side of the family, his siblings, so, you know, my aunts and uncles and cousins and everything. We got together to celebrate Christmas. And so this first night we had traveled from our home to Kentucky, and we hadn't eaten all day. And so we just stopped at one of the local Mexican restaurants in town. We started out with their queso and guacamole, chips and salsa, and we went ahead and kind of got all the dips because we were hungry, like I said, we hadn't eaten all day. And then for my entree, I got their, I think it was called like the Albany special or something. It was basically fajitas just without the tortillas. It was steak, chicken, and shrimp cooked with vegetables with rice and beans. And then Gary got the steak chimichangas, and it was pretty yummy. It was good. For the last dinner in this week's video, they had a Dairy Queen in town, and we don't have a Dairy Queen close to us, and Gary loves their flamethrowers, but that really didn't sound good to me, so they had a local pizza place. I just ordered a chef salad and a baked potato, and the salad was huge. I had the other half of the salad, I think it was the next day for lunch. And then he had the flamethrower, and I did not know this. You know, Burger King right now has this like halvesies special where you can get like half onion rings and half fries. And when we pulled up to the drive-thru, Gary asked if they had it, and I was like, no, honey, I don't see it on the menu. And he said, well, can you ask them? And I was like, yeah, I'll ask, but you know, I don't know that they can do it. And so I asked her, you know, if it was possible to do half fries and half onion rings. And she said, well, we have, I think she called them onion fries or something, where you can do I think she said it was a small order of fries and then 5 onion rings. So that was kind of cool. So, you know, if you kind of like the onion ring fry combo and you've got a Dairy Queen near you, just ask. Never hurts to ask. That, you know, the worst they can do is tell you no, right? But anyway, that was our dinner this night. That's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. You know, I know it was kind of short and sweet. We had leftovers and then ate out a couple times, but I still hope it gave you some dinner ideas. If it did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.